fact, notice Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 7, where there's a similar idea. Jeremiah 51 and verse 7. Babylon was a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth what? Drunk. The nations drank her wine. This is not God's wine. This is whose wine? Babylon's wine. Therefore, the nations are what? Are deranged. Do you know what the word deranged there means? It means the nations are out of their mind. They cannot think straight, is what it's saying. In other words, the abominations of this system lead people to be mentally unbalanced, intoxicated in the way that they cannot grasp truth. They simply cannot understand the truth. It's like a drunkard. Now let me ask you, why did Babylon fall? Well, let's review the first angel's message, which comes before the fall of Babylon. The first angel's message teaches, and listen carefully, the first angel's message teaches that Jesus was sacrificed once for all. That's the gospel. Jesus doesn't have to die over and over again, because the book of Hebrews said when he died, when he was sacrificed what? Once for all. We discovered also in the everlasting gospel that Jesus is our only and sufficient high priest. In other words, he is the only one who represents us before God, because he's God and he is man. In order for an individual to bridge heaven and earth, he would have to be God to link us with God, and he would have to be man to link us with man. A mere man cannot be an intercessor, cannot represent us before God, because a man is only a man. In order to have an intercessor, both sides of the ladder have to be there, divinity and humanity. We also noticed in the first angel's message that we're saved by Christ's righteousness alone. We studied this in our second lecture of the series. And that we are not justified by our works. We can never be saved by pilgrimages. We can never be saved by doing penance. We can never be saved by what we do. We're saved by the grace of Jesus Christ. We noticed in the first angel's message that we need to reflect God's character to the world. God's character of love and mercy and goodness and righteousness. We noticed in the first angel's message that we need to take care of our bodies and of our minds. We noticed in the first angel's message that God wants us to keep his holy law. In fact, he says, "Fear me," which is linked with keeping God's commandments. We noticed in the first angel's message that we are now living in the hour of God's judgment. We also noticed that the first angel's message calls us to worship the Creator and keep his holy Sabbath. We also noticed that in the first angel's message, the dead are dead until they receive their reward at the resurrection. In other words, the first angel's message teaches a series of truths. Do you know why Babylon has fallen? Because Babylon rejected all of those truths. You see, the wine of Babylon is the opposite of the first angel's message. If Babylon had accepted the first angel's message, she would have the truth of God. She would have unfermented wine, if you please.